first questions from you?
No,
That we can hear?
No questions. I'm good.
Well, we need to get something on tape.
I think everybody on our staff has been supportive of you, haven't they? Our whole talk staff has been supportive of this, I think.
You know, I don't audit all the shows all the time. I will just say that there's always some anxiety from my council over what, you know, what the staff here at KMJ are thinking and saying. So
this has nothing to do with probably the interview you want. I just think everybody I've heard on our staff has been supportive of this. I've never heard anybody say, we've had Doug on. He's never been able to convince me.
yeah.
You know, but I've listened to him.
Let's talk about Doug Begum at this point. You've said on the record that he is a moving target with his arguments. Can you explain that in simplistic terms? Because I understand he's used a number of different lines of reasoning for trying to uphold, or not uphold, but to stop possibly this project.
Well, we've heard a number of things from Doug Begum on this water rate issue over the last year. Initially, his biggest concern was that he didn't feel people were properly notified through the 218 process. And when we clearly provided the evidence that, in fact, everybody who was to be notified was notified, he changed his arguments and said, well, we really don't need the infrastructure because, in fact, we have plenty of groundwater. We provided satellite images that showed just the opposite. We brought in the U.S. Geological Survey to verify that, in fact, our groundwater has dropped 100 feet in the last 80 years. And he ultimately admitted, okay, in fact, we do have a groundwater problem. But then he said, you know, there are other ways to handle it. We should just add a bunch more recharge basins. We said, okay, fine. Well, that's going to cost $300 million compared to $186 million for the surface water treatment plant. He then changed his argument and said, well, there are better ways to pay for this. We should use a parcel-based tax system instead of a user-based tax system. And we, again, debunked that representation. So, you know, it's been a moving target. But I will say overall, I'm grateful for his agitation because it's, you know, it's kept us at the table for another year debating the best way to address our water issues in Fresno. And now I'm quite certain that there is consensus in the community that we need to move forward on our 5-year rate plan.
Maybe in the community, but what about with the city council?
And the city council will be asked to vote on Thursday to initiate the 218 process. And you know, they've been very supportive of going through this additional due diligence phase and getting every question answered. It is the case that we all want to make sure before we take on a significant infrastructure project in the city of Fresno that everyone is comfortable that we've done our homework. So I think the council ultimately will support the initiation of the 218 process, and they've helped to hold our feet to the fire with the administration in really dotting every I and crossing every T.
Steve Brandow, city councilman, took a lot of heat when he voted in favor of the plan the last time around last year. Do you still anticipate him going on board with you?
Well, it is never popular to raise people's water rates, and I think Steve took a very bold and courageous position last year when he said, I've done all the homework, I've done all the research. I wish these decisions had been made earlier. Over the last 28 years, I wish rates had incrementally been increased as they should have been. They were not, and now it is up to us to do something to address our groundwater challenge. And he cast a very difficult vote. I know he's taken a lot of grief from friends and supporters for raising those water rates, but I think Steve can stand up on Thursday with an airtight case that shows we have dotted every I, crossed every T. This is the most cost-effective way to proceed. And if we don't do something to maintain the water resources we have here in the city of Fresno, the state is going to come and take those resources over.
You've outlined to us how this plan of attack, for lack of a better phrase, is going to work for you. Let's talk about the current cost analysis right now. Where does it stand today? The proposal that you're going to take before the council on Thursday.
The city of Fresno in 2013 was recommending a $442 million capital plan. Today we're recommending a $429 million capital plan over 5 years. We've smoothed out the rates. We have recommended that instead of an 80 million gallons a day surface water treatment plant, that we should instead construct a 56 million gallon a day surface water treatment plant with the ability to scale that to 80 MGD. And we have backed off a little on our pipe replacement plan. So we've been able to smooth out the rate increases and downsize the infrastructure just a bit. And I think that ultimately is the most cost-effective way to proceed.
The average water bill currently stands at what for an average Fresno resident?
It's about $24, $25 a month.
And you're anticipating it going to where next year and following?
In 5 years' time, when the rate has been fully implemented, it'll be about $52 a month. That's just the water portion of the utility bill. In the first year, we would see rates go to about $28. So from 25 to 28, it stair steps up over the next 5 years, ultimately to about $52 a month.
And the rates would be based on consumption, correct?
Exactly. So they're user-based rates. So if people conserve, they can try to make sure that will help bring their bills down. There is a fixed cost portion of their bill, and there's a variable cost portion of their bill. So their conservation will affect the variable cost portion of their bill.
$420 million, still a giant chunk of cash for a city that was financially teetering, I want to say, about a year or two or three ago during the Great Recession. Are we going to see any financial help or grants from the state or from the federal government?
We will, but first let me just make sure you understand. So there's two major buckets of money the city oversees: enterprise funds and general funds. So our general fund is what had gotten us into so much trouble. We literally have been called the most cashless city in America because in our general fund we had so little reserves, and literally we're just having to cut everything possible to keep our expenses within our general fund. This infrastructure program is moving forward out of the enterprise funds, which basically means your rates that you pay every month, that money goes only to pay for your water infrastructure and your water services. So it's a different situation with that aspect of the city's finances. Having said that, we absolutely will qualify for state low-interest loan programs, and it hopefully will bring the cost of this overall program down. If that happens, those savings will be returned right back to the ratepayers. We won't have to raise rates as much as is being proposed at this time.
If you get the okay from the council on Thursday, what's the timeline? What's the next step?
On Thursday, the council is being asked to initiate the Prop 218 process, and assuming the council votes to do that, it'll take us the next several months to get the 218 process conducted. That means every ratepayer, every property owner in Fresno is going to get a ballot mailed to them. We make it easy on people. You don't have to show up at the polls or go out of your way. We're actually going to send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and anyone who wants to protest the rates simply has to return that back to the city. Our schedule says that by February 5th, we'll be back to the city council to ask for their final approval of the rate plan, so we've got the next several months to do the election process.
Are you going to do any marketing or advertising if you get the initial okay on Thursday? Are you going to do some sort of a publicity push to get that the backing from the public?
Well, we've been doing a lot of public outreach to make sure people understand every aspect of this water proposal. We just finished 3 months of outreach. We had 250 people participate in one or more of the forums that we've done. We've got a great website at rechargefresno.com that's got a ton of information. People can call, email the city at any time and ask any questions they may have. And we'll continue to do our best to make sure the public knows about what exactly this plan includes.
February 5th, that's an interesting time because you're going to have new council members on board.
Yes, next proposal.
Where does that go? And have you gotten any word from the incoming councilors?
Well, we'll have one seat change. We had some incumbents reelected, so we'll have one new council member, Esmeralda Soria from District 1, that will have to vote on this in February, and we'll be working with Esmeralda to make sure she has all the information she needs. And
she campaigned against it, though, during the campaign against Kerry Catalano, who you had endorsed, correct?
Yes, I supported Kerry Catalano in the District 1 race. In not living in the district, I'm not sure exactly what was said about the rate plan. My understanding is that it was a point of debate, and that incoming council member Soria had questions about the 5-year rate plan. We're now in a position to answer every question. In addition, the governor signed a new law into place, the State Groundwater Management Act, which that only happened within the last month. And so things have dramatically changed with this new state legislation. We're in a position as a city where we have no choice but to act.
We saw Westwood in Los Angeles several months ago. A pipe burst, millions of gallons of water just wasted and gone away. Have we anticipated or prepared for some sort of an emergency like that? Because that's basically what happened there too. I mean, they've got 100-year-old pipes, and we're sitting on a similar situation, correct?
It is a big concern to deal with the rehab and replacement of our older pipes, and we still have some pipes that are wood or that are clay, and we know are very vulnerable. So our 5-year rate plan includes about $80 million for emergency repair and replacement, as well as just a basic maintenance program, which we have not had in place, and is another reason why I'm recommending we move this program forward.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Michael?
Do you think the people of Fresno realize that the very means to solving their water problems, namely the political machines in town, are the very reason that for 28 years they haven't been solved?
I don't think residents in the city of Fresno probably realize from a top-of-mind standpoint that we've been debating this for the last 28 years. In fact, city staff first recommended a long-term water plan to address our aquifer challenges in 1986. That plan was updated in 1993, not again until 2008 and then 2010. So as part of our community outreach, we're helping people understand this isn't a new idea. It's certainly not a fly-by-night idea. This is something that we've evaluated and has been recommended by our professional staff at the city of Fresno for a very long time. And frankly, I think it is a great opportunity for our city in this generation to take action and to secure our water future and to not leave future generations in peril as we are today.
And to those members of the city council or other politicians in town who find opposing this plan is politically strengthening to them, your message to them?
If you're simply looking at this issue through the lens of what is in the best interest of our residents in the city of Fresno, both in this generation and in the next generation, the vote is very easy. If you're worried about what might come at you in the next political hit piece when you run for re-election and someone accuses you of doubling water rate increases, then the vote gets difficult. So my appeal to my colleagues on the city council is to set aside the political fears that are natural when you're an elected office holder, but to set those aside because our job is to represent the interests of the residents of Fresno. And when you do that, and when you're looking through that lens, the decision is quite easy.
People are concerned about the money it's going to cost to solve this problem. If they wait 2 years or 5 years more, how much more will it cost them to solve this problem?
Well, with the cost of construction escalation that we're seeing now, every year we wait, it's about another $25 million problem. So the city council approved this plan in 2013. We've spent another year on the due diligence phase. We've seen costs go up again, $25 million. So every year we wait, not only does it get more expensive, but it creates an opening for the state to come in and take control of our groundwater resources and most likely impose an infrastructure program and fees that are much, much higher than what the city of Fresno is proposing today.
So, best scenario for Thursday's vote, if the city council agrees to step forward, what's the first step that the city takes to solve the problem?
The first step is to conduct the 218 process and ultimately adopt the rates in February of next year. And then beyond that, we continue with getting environmental clearance to construct the surface water treatment plant. And within the next 5 years, we'll see major construction and we will begin to reverse a decades-old problem in Fresno.
And can prices go up even if we begin right now? Will there be an acceleration in costs that we can predict or expect?
The rate plan actually tries to stair-step the rates and smooth over the next 5 years the recommended increase. So we're looking at going from about a $25 a month bill to $28 in year 2, then $34, up to $40, $47, and then ultimately $52 by the 5th year.
I was referring to what construction costs could accelerate beyond what your expectations might be and how much that might be. Could it be $100 million more than we think it would be?
I think if we take action this spring in February of 2015 and we lock in contracts, I think we'll be able to deliver this project at the estimated $186 million price tag. But it is important that we move forward. Every year we wait, we see costs go up further.
To the people of Fresno who'd like to go to the kitchen and turn on the water, will it always be there? Will there always be water when we turn on the tap if we act or if we don't act?
The actions we're asking the City Council to take this week will ensure that when people go to the tap next year, years to come, future generations to come, that when you turn the nozzle on the tap, the water comes out. It's safe, it's reliable, it's clean, and you don't have to think twice about it, which is a luxury we have today. Sadly, though, we're depleting our groundwater in order to do that. And what we're saying is if we want that same benefit for our children and our grandchildren, we have to act today.
Politics and water don't mix very well.
Politics and water are a little bit like oil and water. They do not mix.
All right. I think we're good. We all set?
Yeah, good.
That's great.
You've got to go.
Thank you all very much.